Fantasy football drafts coming and the season approaching. Within the next few weeks, I've done some mock drafts and here to break them down with picks 5 to 8. So the first draft I did, 5th pick overall, Bijan Robinson. I think that's a nice spot to get Bijan Robinson. He's my number 3 running back ranked going into the season. And Bijan last year wasn't the greatest of seasons, obviously, with Arthur Smith at the helm. But this season with an improved offense and a new coaching staff, I think Bijan Robinson, he has a nice season. Even though last year he wasn't horrible, but just not the monster numbers you expected at the 2-8 position. Devon Achane, if you could get him mid-second, early third round, it's a slam dunk pick every time with his upside. Last season, 8 yards per carry. And this season, Achane a lot. I'm going to try to draft him in my fantasy leagues because I believe he could be a number 1 running back for fantasy owners. Then in the third, I'm Deebo Samuel. Deebo Samuel, his value definitely could go up, obviously, especially if Brandon Ayuk gets traded away. But Deebo, he's always been that 3rd, 4th rounder. Then once again, go wide receiver after I went 2 running backs early. Malik Nabers, a lot of great reports out of training camp with Malik Nabers. They think he's going to be a superstar wide receiver. And obviously already the number 1 target on this New York Giant offense with Saquon Barkley leaving in free agency and even banged up a little bit with the ankle. Nabers, I think, is going to be fine and ready for week 1. And then once again, to fill out that flex position, Tank Dell at the 5-5 area. I know they got 3 wide receivers with Diggs, Nico Collins, and now Tank Dell. But Dell last season, he was on a tear before he got hurt and was out for the season. And to get him in the 5th round and being my number 3 receiver or flex, even on Yahoo, on these drafts, set up what type of format. It's 2 receivers, 2 running backs, a flex, but Tank Dell to be my 3rd receiver with a flex option. It's a nice piece to have on your roster with major upside. Then at the 6-8, Dalton Kincaid, he possibly could be the number 1 target on this Buffalo Bill offense, where Gabe Davis, he left in free agency, Stephon Diggs traded away to Houston, and Kincaid was coming on late last season. So to get Kincaid in the 6th round, I think it's a good pickup. Jordan Love in the 7th. He's a solid quarterback last season. I know he got off to a slow start, but to get him in the 7th round, where last year he was a top 6 fantasy quarterback in points per game, I like the value. And it's an offense where it's going to be about Love passing the football, and he's got some running ability as well, and they just gave him the monster contract. 8th round, Brian Robinson Jr. I just keep finding myself getting Brian Robinson as a good depth piece, or even at worst case as your number 2 running back. I think Robinson's going to be fine. I know Austin Eckler signed there in free agency, but Robinson last season showed he could do it all. Pass protect, catch the football out of the backfield at times as well. And he's already penciled in as that short down back and goal line back. So just that alone, Robinson has good value. Then once again, add to my running back depth at the 9th round, Jaylen Warren. I think it's a steal to get Warren in the 9th round for fantasy owners. He could catch the football. I think he's an overall better running back than Najee Harris, where Harris, it just hasn't been pop over the last 2 seasons, where Warren is burst when he hits the hole and he finds the seam. Then 10th round, Xavier Worthy, I keep drafting him as well, with potential to be the number 1 wide receiver going into the year, with Hollywood Brown injured and Rashee Rice with a possible suspension looming. You can't go wrong with Worthy in the 10th round. Then Trey Benson in the 11th round. James Conner, we know injuries have been a concern for him over the last few seasons, even though I still believe Conner is a solid running back for fantasy owners. But these are the types of players you want to target in these later rounds, young up-and-coming rookies or 2nd or 3rd year players who still haven't reached their ceiling. 12th round, go with another rookie, Brian Thomas Jr. Definitely going to get a lot of play over there and was a high draft pick in the NFL draft for this Jacksonville Jaguar team. And to play with Trevor Lawrence, even though it was an off year for him last season, I like Brian Thomas, especially in the 12th round. And 13th round, Keon Coleman, another rookie, him and Worthy. I just keep finding myself drafting these players because they got major upside and honestly could be number 1 options when seasons end in their offense at the wide receiver position. And then I closed it out with Daniel Carlson and the Green Bay defense, where kicker defense I don't care for to the last round, because I wouldn't waste a pick where you could get depth or a potential breakout player, obviously, in those earlier rounds. So the final roster, Jordan Love at quarterback, Deebo Samuel, Malik Nabers, receiver 2, Bijan Robinson, Devon Achane. I really like that backfield. Dalton Kincaid, Tank Dell with the flex, Daniel Carlson, Green Bay defense. And then to the bench, Brian Robinson Jr., Jaylen Warren, Xavier Worthy, Trey Benson, Brian Thomas Jr., and Keon Coleman. So this is a good team, I believe. Solid at the running back position with two top 10 running backs, in my opinion. Wide receiver, I waited to the third round, but still filled it out pretty well with Debo, Malik Neighbors, Tank Dell, and to have Worthy, Keon Coleman, and Thomas on the bench. 3 rookies, where one of them I believe will break out at minimum. I think that's a good draft overall from the 5th spot. Now the next mock from the 6th spot overall, I went Justin Jefferson with the 6th pick. I like Justin Jefferson this season over Jamar Chase and Amon-Ra. I know his quarterback isn't a great option, Sam Darnold, Chase, or St. Brown, but I still believe he's either 1 or 2 overall at the wide receiver position is Justin Jefferson in terms of talent. I think him, Tyreek Hill, and CeeDee Lamb, all those guys are right up there. So I go Jefferson, 6th pick overall. Then in the back end of the 2nd round, Devon Achane. Once again, Achane, he's one of my top picks this season and potential huge breakouts. Even though last season we got a nice look what Achane could do, 8 yards per carry. But even if it's a 50-50 split, I believe he could be a number 1 running back for fantasy owners. Then 3rd round, DJ Moore, solid season last year. Numbers could go down a little bit with Keenan Allen. Then 4th round for Patrick Mahomes to be there. Like I said in other videos, if Mahomes, Lamar, Josh Allen, or Hurts are there in the 4th round, you got to take those guys. Those are elite quarterbacks, and I believe they're better than a running back or a receiver you're going to get at that point in the 4th round. So there, I go with Mahomes. Then Tank Dell. Once again, I go with Tank Dell. I like a lot. I like anyone in that Texans offense, to be honest. The receiving core. Diggs, who I drafted in other videos, I've shown in that 4th round. Nico Collins, I like as a 3rd rounder or late 2nd. And now, to fill it out, Tank Dell, now I go to the running back position. Only Achane I took in the first 5 rounds is Zamir White. I think he could be a breakout candidate. I know he's not going to catch the football a lot, is Zamir White, but in between the tackles and a strong running back with no competition, really, Alexander Madison and Amir Abdullah, the other running backs over there. We saw Madison last season had a shot in Minnesota. He didn't do anything with it. Then 7th round, Jaylen Warren. I took him a little bit earlier than I did in other mock drafts. But Jaylen Warren, anywhere from that 7th to 9th round range, is a good value pick and a nice PPR player who could catch 50 or 60 passes. Then the tight end position, I didn't really look into it much, but to get Dallas Goedert in the 8th round, I believe, is a decent get. I know Goddard, it wasn't a great year for him last season, and now to add Barkley to the offense, people are down on him, but I still believe he's got good skills as Goddard, still a good red zone target. And to have him as my tight end and take him in the 8th is good value. 9th round, Austin Eckler. This season, I believe he's going to be more of a passing downs back and get about 10, 12 touches per game with the Washington Commanders. And more Brian Robinson Jr. being the top back over there. But still, to get Eckler, who was a first rounder last season in the 9th round, I don't believe he dropped off that much and is still good value. Once again, Xavier Worthy. It seems like every mock draft I've done, I've taken Xavier Worthy. And to repeat it once again, to get a receiver who could be his number 1 on his team in the 10th round, and is a good depth piece, it's great positioning. 11th round, Zach Charbonnet. Last season, I had hopes Charbonnet could be a solid running back or take over for Kenneth Walker. But this season, the stock is definitely down in Charbonnet, but still believe as a young up-and-coming running back, and one injury to Walker, he's stepping in and could be a top 12 option. To get him in the 11th round is good. Dontayvion Wicks, I like him this season coming in for this Green Bay Packer team. Who's really the number 2 receiver? You got Romeo Doubs, Christian Watson, but he was injured all season last year. Dontayvion Wicks. And Jordan Love, the way he runs this offense, they like spreading it out and playing backyard football and throwing it all over the yard. So I got him in the 12th round with potential breakout upside. Gabe Davis, 13th round. I know Davis moving from Buffalo to Jacksonville could be a downgrade for him, but maybe a change of scenery can help Gabe Davis, because we saw in the playoffs just only 3 seasons ago, he had that 4-touchdown game, and there is potential there with Gabe Davis. And then to close out, I went with Tyler Bass in the 14th and the Indianapolis Colts in the 15th round. So the final roster, which I like this team a lot, Patrick Mahomes, to get him in the 4th was great value. Justin Jefferson, DJ Moore, Devon Achane, Zamir White is my number 2 running back. When I got a good receiving core and a great quarterback, you could live with that, I believe. Dallas Goedert at the tight end where I was punting, and still to get him in the 8th round, good value. Tank Dell, Tyler Bass, Colts defense. And then the bench to help that number 2 running back position. If Zamir White can't hold it down, Jaylen Warren, Austin Eckler, Xavier Worthy once again at the receiver backup, Zach Charbonnet, Dontayvion Wicks, and Gabe Davis. I think this is a pretty well-rounded team, and the 6th spot is a good spot to draft from, I believe, this season. Anywhere from the 6th spot or later, I believe you could get good value and really stack up your team in different ways. That's to the 7th pick overall. And Justin Jefferson, I won in this one. Then coming around mid-second, Chris Olave, which he's good value, mid-second, early 3rd round. Then 3rd round, Nico Collins. Like I said, I like those Texans receivers this season. And to start off with Jefferson, Olave, and Collins, that's great at the wide receiver position. I know running back, I really had to hammer away, but 4th round, then Jalen Hurts. Like I said, if Hurts, Lamar, Josh Allen, and Mahomes are there, you can't pass them up. Then I went running back heavy after not filling the position and hope 2 out of the 4 guys pan out and have good seasons. 5th round, Ramondre Stevenson. Raheem Mostert had a great year last year to get him in the 6th, good value. Brian Robinson, who I've drafted a lot in these mocks, I like him. Then the 8th round, Tajay Spears, who I believe he could outplay Tony Pollard in a 50-50 split in the 8th round. Then 9th round, David Njoku. I think that's good value for David Njoku. I know this season they got Jerry Jeudy added to the offense, and him and Watson really don't have a rapport. But for me to punt the position and wait to the later rounds to get Njoku, I think in the 9th round is good value. 10th round, Christian Watson, where last season I was big on him. 3rd, 4th rounder he was going with the breakout he had late in the second half of the season with Aaron Rodgers. But to get him in the 10th round, Christian Watson is my 4th receiver. I think it's with Nick Chubb in the 11th round. We don't know when he's going to come off injury, but it's a lottery ticket. We know Nick Chubb's been a 1st rounder the last few seasons, and if he could get back to form or even close to it, it's solid for me to get Nick Chubb this late in the draft, especially at a running back position, where I didn't draft my first running back until the 5th round. Then Keon Coleman once again in the 12th round. Anytime you could get a young receiver with potential to be the number 1 or 2 receiver on their roster, you got to go get him. 13th round, Dontayvion Wicks, because like I said, Green Bay, we don't know what's going on over there at the wide receiver position. Any of these players could break out and be the number 1. And then to fill it out, Evan McPherson and the Packers defense are the final roster for the 7th pick overall. Jalen Hurts, Justin Jefferson, Chris Olave. Like I said, running back, I waited to the 5th round, but I still believe I got decent players. Ramondre Stevenson, Raheem Mostert, not great in the starting lineup, but players who still could be productive and have some pop games. Then David Njoku at tight end, Nico Collins at the flex, Evan McPherson, Green Bay defense, kicker, and defense. Then the bench, once again, Brian Robinson Jr., who I'm getting a great value. Why not go to the well and keep drafting him? Same with Tajay Spears. I've drafted him a lot in these mock drafts. Christian Watson as a 4th receiver with potential upside if he stays healthy, I like in that 10th round. Then Nick Chubb, a lottery ticket where we know he's had number 1 running back numbers over the last few seasons before injury. And then Keon Coleman, who could be the potential number 1 wide receiver on Buffalo when the season's over. Take him. And Dontayvion Wicks as well, who could be a solid option for the Green Bay Packers. So once again, building these rosters off depth and filling needs earlier for the bench position, where running back, like I said, is weak. So I plugged away 4 picks in a row going running back, and I believe I filled out a decent running back room on the roster. And now the final mock with the 8th pick overall, Amon-Ra St. Brown, I think is great value with the 8th pick. I believe you can't go wrong in that 6 to 8 range with either Justin Jefferson, Ja'Marr Chase, or Amon-Ra. But obviously, Justin Jefferson I prefer, then St. Brown, and then Ja'Marr Chase. Then 2nd round, Kyren Williams, who had the monster breakout year last season. As a number 1 running back, I have confidence he can help fantasy owners. Then Jalen Waddle, who I like is a bounce back this season, got him in the 3rd round. And then once again in the 4th round, I find Jalen Hurts over there. And how could you pass up a Jalen Hurts in the 4th round? You pretty much have to think of it this way. Either a number 2 receiver or a number 2 running back, or Jalen Hurts, who could be possibly the number 1 quarterback this season. I would take Hurts every time in that situation. Then Malik Neighbors, who I like a lot this season. I believe I got him at good value in the 5th round, because now he's bumped up the draft boards, going in that 4th round, where a few weeks ago in that 5th, 6th round you would get him. Then I addressed the number 2 running back with James Conner, who's still a workhorse running back. I know he's had injury concerns throughout his NFL career, but to get him in the 6th round, and him and Kyren, I believe, is a solid tandem to go with a Jalen Hurts and the 3 good receivers I got on the roster. Then 7th round, Evan Ingram. And now to get some running back depth where it's one of my weaker positions, I go Tajay Spears, once again, who I like a lot, going in that 7th, 8th round, where he's got potential breakout work this season. Then 9th round, Gus Edwards, who I believe him and J.K. Dobbins will split, with Edwards doing the same thing they did in Baltimore. Edwards getting short yardage and goal line, and Dobbins being the receiving back. Then Zach Charbonnet, once again, I like last year. He didn't get a lot of work, but if Walker goes down, Charbonnet's got top 12, 15 potential at the running back position. And to get him in the 10th round is one of the better handcuffs a lot. Then Ladd McConkey, he possibly could be the number 1 wide receiver as well for this Los Angeles Charger team, where Joshua Palmer, I don't really think he's a number 1. Quentin Johnson, he had a bad year in his rookie season last season. And DJ Chark, he'll have some pop games, but he's a veteran that you know what you're going to get from him. Then Keon Coleman, just every draft I get Keon Coleman, it seems like. And why wouldn't you want a potential number 1 on your bench or major upside as a rookie, especially with his quarterback being Josh Allen? Then 13th round, I think Mike Williams is a great value. He came off a monster year a couple years ago. And if this Jet team stays healthy, especially Aaron Rodgers, I think Williams, even off an ACL injury, being my number 6 wide receiver is great value in the 13th round. Then I fill it out with Tyler Bass and the Detroit Lions defense. So I like this draft a lot. I think every position I evened out for the most part. And I have great depth and found good players late in rounds for the backup. Final roster: Jalen Hurts, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jalen Waddle, Kyren Williams, James Conner, Evan Ingram, Malik Neighbors, Tyler Bass, Lions defense. Then the bench: Tajay Spears, Gus Edwards, Zach Charbonnet, one heavy running back in those mid-rounds. Ladd McConkey, Keon Coleman, Mike Williams. These are the type of teams you want to put together with a lot of young players coming off the bench with potential breakout upside, and players who have a potential to be starters as well, and you can get them at a discount. So that's breaking down picks 5 through 8, where I believe in these 5 through 8 range, you could start off with a receiver, get a solid running back, and then you could go receiver 2 in a row or quarterback, where Jalen Hurts fell in this 5 to 8 range a few times in the 4th round for great value, and then filling out the back end of the roster with a lot of good backups or even starting pieces with potential breakout this season. So that's breaking down picks 5 through 8. In the next video, I'll be breaking down picks 9 through 12 and see what type of strategies and players you get in that range.